Okay, cool. Well, welcome everybody to Happiness in Humans. Again, I've forgotten which episode we're on, but I know we're in season 2. So, and today we have Hayley Charlesworth. She is joining us to speak about her foundation, Harry's Pals, and they help and support parents of severely ill or disabled children. So Hayley, thank you so much for being here. It would be great just to hear a little bit about yourself and why you founded Harry's Pals as a bit of background to start us off.
Yeah, of course. First of all, thanks for inviting me on today. So I am founder of Harry's Pals. The name Harry is my son. He's 6 years old now. And Harry has got very significant needs. Prior to being born, Harry had unexpected problems. So he had strokes on both sides of his brain. And that left him with significant brain damage. And as a result of this damage, Harry has now got quadriplegic cerebral palsy, perhaps the worst case really, which means for Harry that he's unable to use his arms or legs, have any functional use of them. He's completely peg fed, he's got breathing difficulties, he's visually impaired, cognitively around the age of a 3-month-old, and he's non-verbal. So it's quite a long list. And the first 5 years of Harry's life were really difficult. Trying to access any support, emotional support for myself and my husband was really difficult. And I remember when we were sent home from hospital thinking, oh, well, we'd get like a support worker or something, some counselling sessions, and thinking, how is it possible that we're sent home with this child? There's no book for a child with special needs. There's no sort of, every case is completely different. And then to go home and have to look after this child, as well as having faced the trauma that you've gone through as parents, a bereavement in the way, and go forwards with that. So I think it had a really detrimental effect on myself. And 5 years down the line, I thought, what would have made the difference to me, and what would have made the difference to us as a family, and how can I make what's happened to us, this awful thing that's happened, and turn that into a positive. So I set up Harry's Pals, and it's something I'm immensely proud of. And there's a number of different things that we do through Harry's Pals, and that's provide emotional support to parents like myself. So that's parents that have got a severely ill or disabled child. So we do that in terms of free respite breaks. So we offer parents the opportunity to go away for a few days or maybe a week, dependent on the circumstances, to places across the UK. We also offer, which is something that's particularly important to me, counselling. So that's bespoke counselling. So it's making sure that type of, whether it's counselling or therapy, is right for that family or the couple. It might be that they need relationship counselling because it can have, it can be difficult on a relationship with the extra strains and responsibilities and everything else that you hadn't bargained for. Or it might just be about finding coping mechanisms. It's a roller coaster journey being a carer, and you get over one thing and then something else crops up. So having coping mechanisms is fantastic. The plan is also to set up a buddy up system. So that's partnering up families that are new to having a child with special needs or an illness, with families that are further down the line, so that they can provide their wisdom, guidance and guidance, and in sort of the information that they've been able to gain over the years to help families, and also to allow for the families not to feel so isolated, because you can really feel like that, you're the only person this happened to. And finally, we've been doing a lot of campaigning. I'm not sure whether you've heard of Harry's Pledge, but this is a pledge that we're asking for social housing and local authority providers, property providers, to basically commit to 4 different pledges, and these are around supporting carers and disabled people, and that's going phenomenally well. We've got 48 housing associations and organisations signed up to that, which is brilliant. And as part of that, I've been conducting audits as well. So I've been going into organisations, and I've been looking at how carer friendly their policies are, and working with the carers that within the organisation to find out where any gaps are, to make improvements.
That's amazing that you were able to turn around that negative experience, and really brave of you to be able to turn into positive and set up Harry's Pals. It's an incredible story, Hayley. When you go and you help out those parents and carers, do you provide therapy support yourself, or do you work with another organization that provides therapists and talking therapies?
So basically, I speak with the therapists or the counsellors, talk to them about Harry's Pals and how important it is. And then I have been talking with hospitals and hospices and health visitors so that they're able to provide the information to parents that found themselves in a similar position to myself and my husband. And that's been working really well. And it's about sort of using the bank of counsellors and therapists that we've got on the books, and thinking what do I think would work well for that family. So it might be that they're saying, oh, my 19 or my 17 or 18-year-old is really struggling, so it'd be about what counsellor works well with sort of younger people. Or it might be that they need like I said, coping mechanisms, ways to sort of calm themselves down when they're feeling really anxious, and finding ways to move forwards really. And so that's how we've been working, and so far it's been really successful.
Yeah, and I was really shocked when we first had a conversation, Hayley, that you weren't given much support after you left the hospital. I just thought that would have been a given,
No,
so the
I
work you're
really
doing is really important.
Well, it's nice to, it's sad that we've had to experience, and we've gone through things, but I think with the journey, and I shouldn't call it the journey, it makes me cringe a little bit, but over the past 5 or 6 years, we have learned where changes need to be made. And I do feel like it would or kind of be worthwhile in a way if I'm able to make a difference. So that's where Harry's Pals, I think, comes in, and especially the campaigning and working with organisations and to try and make change, so that everything is a little bit more inclusive, a little bit more accessible. And carers are given the same opportunities, carers and disabled people are given the same opportunities as anybody else.
Yeah. Would you say that's the ultimate goal, is to make a difference and make that change and make it easier for
just
carers?
a little bit of a voice for carers as well. It's when you are a carer, sometimes you can feel like you're kind of drowning in a sea of things to do. Being a carer is really hard, practically, emotionally, physically. So sometimes you don't have the energy or the fight to think, well, this should be changed or that should be changed. So I think to be able to have an opportunity to say, this way of working would make life so much better for families like mine, is brilliant.
So we've kind of touched on the services that you offer with Harry's Pals. What are some of the organizations you work with? I know you mentioned housing support, but any other kind of organizations that you work with, and how do you work with them?
So at the moment, through Harry's Pledge, which has been taking up a lot of time, along with obviously the Harry's Pals things, and arranging counsellors and respite breaks and the like. But I've been working with housing organisations, so and I've been conducting audits. So what that means is I've been going, it's all been virtual obviously with COVID, but I've been having meetings with the senior management team within that organisation, and where we've discussed what it means to be a carer, what they think, do they recognise who their carers are? And I think there's a number of barriers in itself to carers coming forwards, and from then we've had a little conversation about, do they have carers policies in place? What are they doing to support carers, practically and emotionally? And then I've been working with the HR team to speak with carers themselves. So first of all, it's about encouraging carers to come forwards, which isn't always easy. And then after that, it's about conducting webinars, our webinar, to support carers. And this is obviously, I've been doing it for the social housing sector, but this is something that lends itself to any organisation. We all have carers working for us. And then I've been basically asking what they feel the organisation is doing well, where they feel there could be more support. And I've been putting together a list of recommendations from these findings. And then that's gone on to inspire maybe carers policies, or it might be that they're looking at, what are they doing in terms of, do they have carers hubs? Are they doing enough to promote that they're a carer friendly culture, and what else could they do? So that's been going really, really well, and I've noticed a huge difference, and the organisations that have took it up, big changes have been made, so it's fantastic. And then even better, the money that is raised by conducting these audits has been going back into Harry's Pals. So it's a donation to Harry's Pals, so that we've been able to continue to carry on, which has been fantastic when the past 15 months hasn't been very easy for fundraising opportunities. So yeah,
it's amazing. How long has Harry's Pals been going for?
Well, we launched last January, so
okay so it has been 15 months, like you said. Yeah, wow.
But before that, it was the Helping Harry Trust, which was a trust set up to support my son Harry, and that was in terms of his care needs, and it also his equipment, because everything, when you put a special needs price tag on it, is just ridiculous. So but then that went on, and like I said, as time went on and I felt stronger and more able to try and help other people, to launching last January. So
it's really exciting. And you've already started working with 45 organizations, you said?
48 now.
48, wow, that's amazing. That's really great.
Yeah, we're trying to get to 50.
You're very close.
Yeah, but it's just it's mind-blowing really that 48 organizations have signed up, and they've all committed to one of the pledges. So whether it's supporting the carers that are working for them, to making the properties more accessible, there's the pledges are just going to make a huge difference to families like mine. So 48 organizations is incredible.
Yeah, it is. It really is, definitely. I want to go back on something you mentioned at the beginning of that, what it means to be a carer. Could you describe that to us? Like what does it actually mean to be a carer?
Well, technically it means that you're looking after somebody within your family, or maybe your husband or a friend. And it's basically, it means that you're looking after their day-to-day needs, whether it might be looking after their appointments, or making sure they're clean and like they're presentable for the day, or getting them out and about. Being a carer is quite a wide spectrum of different responsibilities, but yeah, and obviously with Harry, his needs are very great, but the thing that all carers have in common is it's hard, it's not easy, and to be able to work for an organisation that can support a carer in terms of whether it be flexible working hours, emotional support, and making sure that they've got people that they can talk to, such as regular appraisals or one-to-ones, makes a big difference. And like I said, being a carer is emotionally hard, and it's also practically hard and physically hard. Maybe you're not getting as much sleep, you're doing heavy lifting, meeting the demands of being a carer, as well as perhaps working full-time or having children of your own. And so being a carer is a range of different people, but I think that everyone struggles in their own way, and I think it's about making sure that those people are able to identify themselves and supported.
So I'd like to move on to something that you brought up in one of our first conversations, Hayley. It was around, not only is it important for organizations to invest in carers because it's a moral moral thing to do. But you brought up something more about the business part of it and the kind of I guess could you just explain to us why organizations should invest in carers?
Yeah, I mean, this is according to Carers UK, but 1 in 3 people will become a carer at any point during their lifetime. Obviously, with aging populations and things, you might find yourself looking after your mother or your father or your in-laws at some point. And within any workforce, is 1 in 7 of any workforce will become a carer. So if you're working for a big organisation, you can imagine that sort of nearly 10% of your organisation could be carers. And sadly, the age of becoming a carer usually coincides with the peak age of somebody's career. So it might be that you're in your 40s to your 60s, and then unfortunately your parents and these are sort of more average type of situations, but so you're losing some really valuable and skilled members of staff, so you want to keep them, and you also want to keep them because it's great for the morale of the company to know that they're being supported, and it attracts people to want to work for your organisation. But like I said, it's also retaining the staff that you've got that are carers, and showing that you're supporting them.
And when you mentioned before too that it's hard for people to come forward and say that they actually are a carer, how would you encourage people and organizations to come forward? And it's probably not easy for people to do that, but how would you encourage people to do it?
I think it's just about changing the culture of the organisation so that it's just known, it's just matter of fact, we're a carer-friendly organisation. So that might be through what you're doing on social media, who you're supporting. So you might have links with other organisations that that are providing support to carers. It'll be about communication, so making sure that managers are all sort of providing the same messages to a member of their staff, that it's embedded within communication. It might be that when you go for the first go for the job, you just ask the question, or it's it's just an opportunity then to mention the fact that you're a carer. So yeah, it's about the culture and things like carers policies as well, and carers hubs and networking, and there's so much that the organisation can do to say we support carers. And and I think given the 15 months we've had and the fact that we've all stood and clapped on our doorsteps for carers, I think it's a really good opportunity now to take action and promote what they're doing.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And I was looking around on your site a bit, and I noticed that throughout the pandemic, COVID-19, it's made things a bit more difficult for carers. And I know, I can't remember when it was. It was last year sometime. We had some people come on from Guide Dogs for the Blind, and they were talking about how difficult the pandemic has been for disabled people. So I was wondering if you could explain to us, like, what are some of the things that you've experienced at the pandemic that's made it maybe a bit more challenging, and how you've overcome it?
The pandemic's been really difficult for carers and disabled people. For me, it meant that Harry couldn't go to school for a long time, which was really hard. We lost access to carers coming into the house. So we also, things like hospital appointments, OT and physio appointments. So I was doing the physio and then looking after Harry full time and all of his needs round the clock. So it was really, really tough. And not being able to put Harry into school was hard, and just have the services, not being able to get him the right sized splints for his ankles, and all of these things added to emotionally really hard. But physically providing that level of care, trying to do homeschooling with your other child, and it's been really testing time for carers, and also for disabled people that have not been able to get their access the support that they would normally have. Yeah, really hard.
Would you say that there was anything that you've learned from the past year that maybe you would bring in and continue to keep doing as we come out of going back into what our new normal is?
I think what I've learned is that remote working is possible and works, and flexibility is possible. So I've definitely learned that if people want to, that it's doable. And I think if your needs at home are that you need to be spending a little bit more time at home, for example, you're a carer, that it's all possible. So yes, after I had Harry, I tried to go back to work, and I said, you know what, the amount of appointments, life admin with Harry and looking after Harry, it's not going to be possible for me to do 9 to 5. It doesn't mean to say that I couldn't have done, tried to get 2 days a week and more hours. But they just said, no, it's 9 to 5 or that's it. So I wasn't able to go back to work. And it just makes me feel sad that other people might be experience that when having a career and your own career and your own thing to work towards is great when you're a carer, and sometimes you become defined by that.
Yeah, definitely. I know the pandemic has, obviously it must have been super challenging to be able to have to, or I guess that Harry couldn't go to those appointments and the support that I needed. But at the same time, the pandemic is also a great business case for Harry's Pals because it's encouraging more flexibility. So it's slightly in your favor, I guess, in that part. But
and it's also been a really hard time emotionally for carers.
Yeah.
Like I said, the strains of everything, and so to be able to offer Harry's Pals at a time when people are most needing the counselling, and it's been rewarding, but fantastic to know that people can come forwards if they need the support, basically.
Definitely. So I guess I know we kind of talked about how people can come forward, but as an organization as a whole, how would you say that they could start opening up conversations, and what are some of the common barriers that a carer who is an employee in an organization would face?
I think it's about making sure that, like I said, the culture of the organisation it's so clear that they're a carer-friendly organisation, that they feel it's a safe environment for them to come forwards and to say they're a carer. And it might be that some people might not want to identify themselves as a carer in the workplace because they might feel that, when they're at work, they're, for example, Hayley, I used to be in marketing, and they don't want to bring it with them. But I think it's about making sure that there is the opportunity there, that staff and management understand what the role of a carer is and are able to ask the questions and have these one-to-ones, appraisals, or even just regular questionnaires that go around to give people that opportunity to ask for support.
Yeah, definitely. I think it like after hearing your story, Hayley, it's definitely brought awareness to me, and I didn't really realize before how much support is important to people who are carers. And I think a lot of organizations don't really talk about it as much. So I think what you're doing is amazing. How can people get involved with Harry's Pals, and how can organizations get involved with what you do?
If any organisations would like to talk to me about the audit, then please get in touch. Or Harry's Pals, if it's something that you would like to donate to, then likewise, please get in touch. You can find us on Facebook on the Helping Harry Trust. So all of our information's on there, or there's a website as well, helpingharrytrust.com.
I'm just putting the link in the chat group as well. Did anybody have any questions for Hayley? Anything you'd like to say before we log off? Yeah, go ahead, Ellen.
I don't have a question because I think you've covered so much, but I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your story, because it's something I was aware of somewhere here, but not in as much depth as you've described. So thanks for sharing.
Oh.
Likewise as well, Hayley, really inspirational, but also you just laid it out so practically as well. You know, what people can do to be carer friendly. And I know, you know, most organisations have got a lot to learn, but I think you're right about people being not sort of wanting to come forward, but, you know, normalising it and saying being a carer is what a lot of people do, because that isolation, I think, is the worst thing sometimes, isn't it? Whereas if you have two people talking, it can make it so much easier. And just well done. Wow, you know, I'm sure Harry's got brilliant quality of life, because you're an amazing woman. You're doing something really amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Well, Hayley, I think that was all I had for you today. And yeah, just thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and being so open with us. It's definitely made an impact on us here. And I know that we'll post this recording up for everybody else to watch as well. But yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, I'll see you guys around, I guess. Maybe next Happiness in Humans episode. And thanks for coming on. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.